theyeshiva.net.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us from different platforms, I know. Welcome to all of the children, Be'ezer Hashem, for our new program that we're going to begin with Jewish children the world over. Those of you who remember a few years ago during the Corona, we did this quite often, and we would have these live programs on the computer with live streams with many hundreds and thousands of children from the whole world. We would share some stories, we learned together, we grew together, and we learned about the world together. And then we had live questions where children would ask questions, and I tried to give the best answers I can. So I was inspired by many requests to do this again. So here we are at the yeshiva.net, initiating this program again. We're going to begin Be'ezer Hashem doing it once a month, hopefully the first Sunday of every month. So we're beginning this Sunday in the days preparing for Shavuos, when we're going to receive the Torah once again. So everybody knows, it says in Medrash, in Shir Hashirim, the Medrash says that when Hashem wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people, this priceless gift, he wanted guarantors. He wanted what we call arevim, guarantors. It's like, if I lend you a lot of money, what if you're not going to have the money? I don't want to not get back my money. So what we do is we find a friend, an arev, a guarantor, that even if the borrower doesn't have the money to pay back, the guarantor guarantees, it's called arvus, that he's going to pay back or she's going to pay back the money. So Hashem said, I want a guarantor. For the Torah, I'm giving you this priceless gift. I want a guarantor. So the Jewish people offered the skenim, the elders, the older Jews. And Hashem said, no, it's not good enough. So they offered the Nevi'im, they offered the prophets. Hashem said, it's not good enough. And they went through this list, and he didn't like the guarantors until they said, the children will be the guarantors. Baneinu irvim ba'adeinu, our children will be the guarantors. Now I can entrust you with the Torah. If the children are involved, now I know the chain will never be broken. So it's because of the children that even Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah. Without the Jewish children, even Moshe and Aaron and the greatest Nevi'im and Tzaddikim and Chachamim and the holiest of the holy and the oldest Jews would not receive the Torah. It was because of the children that Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people. So it's true every single year. So in order to prepare for Matan Torah, it's the children who guarantee its upkeep, who guarantee its future, who guarantee its nitzchias, its eternity. So that's why we're here together with this program on this very special day, known as the first of the Shloshis Yemei Hagbalah, the first of the 3 days that the Jews had to prepare for Matan Torah, Gimel, Daled, Hey, followed by the 6th of Sivan. You can text in or WhatsApp all of your live questions, and Be'ezer Hashem, I'm going to go through those questions. The number is 718-977-5279. You can text, you can WhatsApp, any question you would like, and we will try to address them all the second half of the program. Again, 718-977-5279. If you're comfortable, you can also ask your question live on Zoom. If you're listening by phone, you can ask your question via the phone. You're just going to have to raise your hand by pressing *9. You'll raise your hand. If you're on the computer, you can raise your hand. On the bottom of Zoom, there's a raise hand button, and in the part of the questions, we will take your questions. Okay? And if you want to come on Zoom, you can come on Zoom, but if you're watching it or listening to it elsewhere, that is perfectly fine. I want to give a special thanks before I actually begin. I want to give a very special thanks to the Teichman family from Los Angeles, California, who have graciously and are graciously sponsoring these monthly children's programs to learn together, to sing together, to daven together, to inspire each other. So I want to thank the entire Teichman family from Los Angeles for this special dedication in loving memory of the unforgettable Sal Teichman from Los Angeles. La'elu Nishmas Chaim Shloime Zalman ben Shmuel Teichman, known as Sal Teichman, one of the great builders of Jewish education dedicated heart and soul to the future of the Jewish people, to the future of Torah. A tremendous Baal Chesed, a tremendous Baal Tzedakah, a tremendous visionary with a huge mind and a huge soul and a huge heart. He was taken from us 6 years ago after a life dedicated to Torah and Tzedakah, and especially Chinuch. And this is done together and in conjunction with one of the schools close to his heart that he built together with his colleagues and friends, the Emek Hebrew Academy Teichman Family Torah Center. This was Saul's baby, and Emek is a very special school that continues to thrive and educate hundreds of Jewish students in each year. So thank you very, very much. And Tehei Nishmasei Tzura B'Tzura Chaim, and I'm sure that Reb Chaim Shlomo Zalman is shepping tremendous nachas of seeing the voices and the laughter and the spirit of Jewish children the world over coming together. Thank you. I want to begin with a story. It's a story about the Baal Shem Tov. And of course, the reason I'm choosing a story about the Baal Shem Tov is because Shavuos is the yahrzeit of the Baal Shem Tov. Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov was born in the year Nachas, Tov Nun Ches, on the 18th of Elul, Hey Alofim, Tov Nun Ches, Nachas, 1698. And he passed away on Shavuos, Tov Kuf Chaf. In the English calendar, that would be 1760. Hey Alofim, Tov Kuf Chaf, 1760. So the Baal Shem Tov's yahrzeit is on Shavuos. Of course, we know it's also David HaMelech's yahrzeit. The Gemara says in Yerushalmi that David HaMelech passed away on Shavuos, as the Baal Shem Tov passed away on Shavuos. So I'm going to begin the program with a beautiful, beautiful story of the Baal Shem Tov that always warms my heart. It's a story about Friday night. The Baal Shem Tov was sitting at his table with his family and many, many guests who came to spend Shabbos with the holy Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov finished making Kiddush, and he drank the wine, and he distributed the wine, and then suddenly, out of the blue, the Baal Shem Tov just started to laugh. Ha, 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 he started to laugh. Nobody cracked a joke. Nothing seemed funny in the room. Why is the Baal Shem Tov laughing? Nobody knew. But out of respect, nobody said anything, although it was very strange. Anyway, the Baal Shem Tov washed, they did hamoitzi, they brought out the first course, probably the fish. The Baal Shem Tov finished eating the fish, and guess what? As they were cleaning up the fish course, the Baal Shem Tov breaks out in yet even a more exhilarating and a loud laughter. He's laughing. Nobody could understand what is happening here. Why is the Baal Shem Tov laughing? There doesn't seem to be anything very funny or entertaining happening in the room at the moment. So the meal continued, the yoich, the soup, and then the main course, the chicken or the meat, whatever they ate, the vegetables, the fruits. And when the Baal Shem Tov finished the main course of the chicken or the meat, basar v'dagim v'chal matamim, whatever food they had there in Mezhebush in Ukraine, again he bursts out laughing. And you can see the joy and the excitement and the simcha on his glowing holy face. Nobody understands why. The meal continues, they finish, and life moves on, the Shabbos moves on. After Shabbos, the Baal Shem Tov makes Havdalah. And one of his closest disciples, his closest Talmidim, his closest Chassidim, felt that it was an auspicious time for him to ask. So he says, Rebbe, I want to ask you a question. Why were you laughing Friday night at the meal, after Kiddush, after the fish, after the chicken? And each time your laughter grew and exceeded. What was going on? Well, Shem Tov looked at him and said, why don't you go and invite Shapsi, the bookbinder, to come here to Shul, to Mezhebush? A few years ago, I had the schus, more than once, of being in Mezhebush. Mezhebush is a little town in Ukraine. And we still know exactly the place where the Baal Shem Tov's shul was. In fact, there's pictures from the original shul from before the war. Later it was destroyed, but they rebuilt the shul in the same place, exactly as a replica the way it looked during the time of the Baal Shem Tov. And of course, there's the cemetery where the Baal Shem Tov is buried, together with many other Jews of Mezhebush. But it's like a little town, and it still looks very, very ancient and old. It hasn't been developed. So why don't you bring Shapsi to shul? Now, who was Shapsi? Shapsi, the bookbinder, was a Jew. He was a very fine, good, God-fearing Jew, not very successful or affluent. His parnasa, his money, he got from binding books. This is in the olden days. How much money did he get? He got a few kopecks. You know what kopecks are? Kopecks was like the pennies in the Russian currency, or ruble. Ruble is like $1, but it wasn't a lot. But he was a very innocent and a very fine person, and people cherished his purity and his Yiras Shamayim, his fear and his love for Hashem. So this student went to the house of Shapsi, the bookbinder. Korech Svarim, it's called. He binds books. And he tells him that the Baal Shem Tov invited you to come to shul. He wants to see you. Shapsi did not like this. What happened? He was bewildered. Oh, Gewalt, what now? You know, what type of trouble? I mean, he said, calm down. The Baal Shem Tov is not upset. He just wants to see you. So Shapsi accompanies this student, and they come to the shul, and the Baal Shem Tov is standing there with his beloved students. And he says, Shalom Aleichem, Reb Shapsi, a good Shavua Tov, a good week, a holy week, a beautiful week. Shapsi, could you tell us all what happened in your home on Friday night? And Shapsi blushes and he says, Rebbe, please don't embarrass me in public. I won't do it again. The Baal Shem Tov says, there's nothing to be embarrassed. It was so special. You can share it with us with calmness. He says, no. This is humiliating. This is embarrassing. I do not want to share. The Baal Shem Tov encourages him and says, I'm telling you, I'm not judging you. Please share with all of us what happened Friday night in your home. The Rebbe asks, the Baal Shem Tov asks, so Shapsi begins to tell the story. And he says, my dear Rebbe, you know that for me and my wife, Shabbos is something special. All of my savings, all the money that I make, I always save up extra money to be able to buy extra food and have an extra beautiful environment and ambiance and atmosphere on Shabbos. We're a very poor couple. We don't have much. But whatever we could put away, we put away extra to be able to buy delicious wine and fish and chicken and meat, basar, v'dagim, v'chol matamim, and fruits and vegetables, and whatever delicacies they had in Mezhebush in the 1700s, not many, in order to be able to have a lebedik, a festive, a geschmack, warm, warm Shabbos in our home. For us, Shabbos is everything. Unfortunately, Rebbe, as you know, the last few weeks, there was such a heavy snow. This was winter time. And it impeded, people could not travel. So nobody came to bind any books. So even the little money that I was making, I stopped making. The last 2 weeks, literally nobody showed up because of the heavy snow. You couldn't travel. Nobody could walk. Nobody could travel. And Thursday night, I sat down with my wife and I said, unfortunately, I have nothing. I have nothing. I can't give you any money to go buy anything for Shabbos. It was so sad for both of us, because what about candles? We're not going to be able to have candles. They didn't have money to buy oil, to buy a candle. What about wine? They didn't have for wine. What about a piece of fish, some vegetables, chicken for a chicken soup, meat, anything? They didn't have. They would just have to have some morsels of bread that they had leftovers to eat. It was very sad. It was very hard for both of us, but I had no other choice. I didn't want to go start begging as a pauper. I did not want to do that. I never did that in my life. I always earned a living, and therefore, we just looked at each other, and tears streamed down my eyes. Friday morning, I knew it's going to be very painful for me to sit here a whole day and know that we have nothing to cook and prepare for Shabbos. So I went to shul and I davened, and I decided to stay in shul throughout the day. And I learned, and I said Tehillim, and I was my Vesedra, you know, the mitzvah Friday, we go through the whole parsha, Shnaya Mikra Vecha Targum, twice we do a pasuk, and then we do the Targum Unkelus, the translation of Unkelus in Aramaic, and I went through the parsha, and I learned Rashi, and I learned some other Mefarshim, and I davened, and I said some more Tehillim. And then I went, of course, before Shabbos, they would go to the mikveh, to the bathing house to prepare for Shabbos, and I came back to shul. Unfortunately, I knew I can't go home. There's nothing to help. I have no reason to. There's nothing to help with. I can't make a kugel. I can't put up the soup. I can't make a cholent. I can't even prepare the candles. I daven ma'ariv. I daven Kabbalah Shabbos. L'chu neranen ol Hashem nariya l'tzur yishenu. L'chadoidi l'kras kala pnei Shabbos nekabla baruch as Hashem amvarech. I daven. And when davening finished, I went home and I knew that I'm coming, unfortunately, into a dark home because we couldn't afford candles. How shocked I was, Shapsi, the bookbinder, says to the Baal Shem Tov and his students, as I'm approaching the home and I see so much light coming out of the windows. I don't understand why. How? And when I come closer to the house, I begin smelling the fragrance of geschmack, a delicious food. I come into the house. Beautiful candles, a glow, filling the house with so much Shabbos light and warmth. And then I can smell the reach, the smell, the fragrance of geschmack, of food better than every week. And to my astonishment, I see that my wife cooked up a storm. I look at her and I say, where did all this food fall from? It came like a man from heaven. She looks at me and she says, Shapsi, you know, this morning, Friday morning, you went to shul. And I was so heartbroken seeing your pain of not having the ability to celebrate Shabbos the way you would love to. So I decided I have to do something about it. And I went through all my old clothes to see maybe there's something I can find, you know, maybe some old money that we put away or that I never used or that got put away in a pocket and we never remembered about it. You know, these things happen. You find some money and then I find an old coat and it has golden buttons and it hasn't been used in a long time. It was old. It was already like a rag, a shmata, but the buttons were made of gold. And I took off the buttons and I immediately went to the person, you know, with the gold, the one who handles gold. And I gave the buttons. And they were expensive. And I got a very nice sum of money. And with this money, I went and I bought the candles and I bought the wine and I bought the fish and I bought the meat and the chicken and the vegetables and the fruits and all of the delicacies that we have here. And with the Baruch Hashem, I cooked up a Shabbos. I prepared a Shabbos. Shapsi was overwhelmed. He didn't expect this. He expected a dark and difficult and challenging, miserable Shabbos. He was so grateful. Shalom aleichem malachei ashoris malachei elyon eishes chayil miyimtza. And he meant every word that night when he said eishes chayil miyimtza. Where do you find such a person, such a partner in life, such a eishes chayil, a woman of valor? Rabbois bonois asu chayil v'yat alis al kulana. He made Kiddush with so much gratitude. When he finishes Kiddush, he turns to his wife and he says, I am so grateful to Hashem that he gave us the schus, the privilege to be able to celebrate Shabbos with such love and such joy and such passion and such harchava, such prosperity and comfort. I'm so grateful for the gift of Shabbos, and I'm so grateful for the gift of you. Who did all of this and prepared all of this without me even expecting it. And I'm so grateful that we have each other to be able to celebrate our relationship with Hashem, with Shabbos, with Torah, with mitzvahs, with each other. And he blushes and he looks at the Baal Shem Tov and he says, I was so excited, I was so moved, there was nobody else in the house. I asked my wife if she can dance with me. And she said, yeah. And we started to dance. And then we washed Hamoitzi, and then we ate the fish, and I sang the Zmiris, and we shared Divrei Torah, and we shared words of chizuk and encouragement, and we were just grateful. And when I finished the fish, my heart was swelling with joy, and I turned to my wife, and I said, I'm so grateful to Hashem for Shabbos, and I'm so grateful to Hashem that we can celebrate Shabbos this way, and I'm so grateful for the gift that you have given me and us with this Shabbos, and I'm so grateful for every moment that we have each other and our connection with each other and Hashem. And I again broke out in a dance. And I asked my wife if she can join me again in the dance. And we danced around the table with even more passion. And we continued the meal and the soup and the chicken. And after the chicken, I was so filled with hislavos, with passion and with dveikus and with gratitude. And again, I jumped up, danced, and I said, would you dance with me again? How can I be grateful enough? How can I? Because and we danced again around the table, like a choo-choo train. We danced around and around and around and around Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know what the niggin was. Yeah, 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 but some niggin. And he finishes the story and he's feeling very embarrassed. It's not a typical story. And the Baal Shem Tov is listening. And the Baal Shem Tov looks at Shapsi. And he looks at all of his students who are gathered in shul. And he says, my dearest, Tayere, Helike Shapsi, I want you to know something. When you danced on Shabbos at your meal in your home, you know who else was dancing with you? All the malachim, all the angels in heaven were dancing with you. They were all celebrating with you. You know who else was dancing with you? Hashem himself. Nachas ruach lefonai shamarti v'nazarteni. Hashem himself kevayachal was rejoicing and dancing and celebrating and cherishing every moment, seeing you and your wife's love and joy and passion and connection. Hashem too was dancing. And the Baal Shem Tov said, and I too joined along with you. And everybody understood why the Baal Shem Tov felt so much joy and laughter and expressed it after Kiddush and after the fish and after the chicken. And then the Baal Shem Tov looked at Shapsi and says, and Shapsi, I want to bless you. What do you need? Shapsi looks at the Helike Baal Shem Tov and he says, Rebbe, you know, my wife and I are very grateful for everything we have. We're grateful for every moment of life. We're grateful for every breath. We're grateful for Shabbos. We're grateful for Yom Tov. We're grateful for the gift of life. Every moment is the gift of life. But there's one thing we don't have. We never were blessed with children. And the Baal Shem Tov looks at Shapsi and he says, I want to bless you that Hashem should give your wife and you a child. And he sent him back to his home. Within a year, Shapsi and his wife were blessed with a son. And at the bris, Shapsi gave his son the name Yisrael. Yisrael, of course, is the name of the Jewish people. We're all Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, Teiras Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael. We're called Yisrael. Yisrael is the acronym Yesh Shishim Ribui Isis L'Torah, the Megala Amukas. Rav Nosson Shapiro writes Yisrael is Yesh Shishim Ribui Isis L'Torah because every Jew has a letter in the Torah and there's 600,000 general souls and each soul has many different branches like a tree has many different branches. And Yisrael is the name of the Baal Shem Tov. Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov. And this boy grew up to become one of the great, great masters, spiritual leaders of Polish Jewry. He's known as Rabbi Yisrael of Koznitz, the Helike Koznitz Magid. He has a sefer called Avodas Yisrael. His name was Yisrael. He was the boy of the bookbinder. And he went to the city of Koznitz. He became the Koznitz Magid. The Avodas Yisrael was one of the great Hasidic masters and Rebbes and Tzaddikim of Poland in that generation. Tayere Kinderlach. Let me tell you what I learned from the story among all the other lessons you could learn from it. You know, sometimes we don't value enough what we do in the privacy of our own lives, in the privacy of our own homes. You know, sometimes we feel that things are important when there's pictures, when it's all over the place, when there's a lot of fanfare, when there's a lot of drama, when it's public, when it's known. And here the Baal Shem Tov was teaching us a priceless lesson. Here was a man with his wife, two people, simple, good people in their own home. There were no cameras. There was no live stream. It was Shabbos. And they were celebrating life with each other, with themselves, and with Hashem. There was nobody to give them compliments. There was nobody to validate them. There was nobody seeing them. There was nobody telling them. It didn't go out as a WhatsApp. It didn't become a status. There was no picture. Generally, there were no pictures then. But what Baal Shem Tov was saying is you should know who was dancing with you. All the malachim, all the angels were dancing. Hashem himself was dancing. That moment is priceless. That's where Life happens. Life happens in what we call the moment of dvekas, the moment of real, sincere, authentic connection, when you allow your heart to open and you celebrate life, and you celebrate the gift of life, and you celebrate the gift called you, and the gift of those people you trust and love, and the gift that together we can give to each other, and we can embrace each other, and we can be channels for Hashem's love and light, and Hashem dances with you. The simcha that you bring to Hashem at that moment is priceless. And the Baal Shem Tov says, and I too was part of that party. Always cherish and value those moments that we can each create in our own day and our own night, in our own avodas Hashem, our own relationship with our neshama and with Hashem, and with those individuals, friends, family, or others who we feel close to and we are close to. And as you dance, remember Hashem is dancing with you. So, I want to go to the next part and say a very special kapitel Tehillim for our brothers and sisters in the whole world, but especially for our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael, for all of the hostages. We had a great miracle Shabbos morning when 4 Jewish hostages who were in captivity by the Hamas Risham Yamach Shemam V'Zichram for 8 months were liberated by the Jewish soldiers who went in with Mesiris Nefesh Mamash and rescued these 4 hostages. Unfortunately, one of them did not come back. He died al Kiddush Hashem, saving these 4 Jews, these 4 young Jews. There's many more hostages still stuck by Hamas. May Hashem liberate them. May Hashem protect all of our brothers and sisters in Israel, all of the hostages, all the soldiers, all of their families, and give a refuah to all of the wounded, and protect our brothers and sisters there and the world over. Hashem Yishmat Seisam Avayam Me'ata Va'ad Olam. So let's say together a kapitel Tehillim. Does any one of the children here on Zoom, would any one of you like to say the Tehillim? Shir Hamalois Elecha Nososi Es Einai Hayoshvi Bashamoyim Hinei Chienei Avodim El Yad Adonayim Kienei Shivchel Yad Gvirto Keineinu El Adonai Eloheinu Ad Sheyechanenu Chanenu Adonai Chanenu Kirav Savanu Vuz Rabas Savalo Nafshenu Halaga Shananim Habuz Ligei Yoynim. Okay, and now we're going to go over to our next segment. We're soon going to go to questions. Those who have questions, you could text the questions or WhatsApp them, unless you want to ask the questions live. But many children already sent in their questions to 718-977-5279, 718-977-5279. Again, 718-977-5279. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next section. Everybody knows that Shavuos is called in Torah Chag HaKotzir, the holiday of harvest. And that's because it's the time of harvest after a long winter. Pesach is called Chodesh HaAviv. It's the spring, the beginning of spring. And Shavuos is Chag HaKotzir. It's a time when we start harvesting grains and we start harvesting vegetables and everything that grows, fruits, and it will continue throughout the summer. And that's why Shavuos is also known as Chag HaBikurim. After Shavuos, people, farmers all over Eretz Yisrael would fill up a basket of the new fruits of the Shivas Haminim, of the 7 special species, the fruits with which Eretz Yisrael is praised for. They would fill up a basket or many baskets and march to Yerushalayim with a musical parade. Jews from all over the land would bring their baskets of fruits and come to the Beis HaMikdash and gift it to a Kohen. And it was a very special festivity. This usually happened after Shavuos throughout the summer season when the new fruits were being harvested from people's farms and gardens, orchards and trees and fields, etc. So we're going to talk today for a moment, and we have a special video about how you plant anything that you plant. I live in Muncie, and I recently started to plant. We started to plant some things, and it's an amazing, right? You take a seed and you put it into the earth, and then it grows. So you take the seed of an apple tree, you take the seed of an apple, and maybe an apple tree will grow, or cherries, or oranges, or kiwis, or maybe cauliflower, or spinach, or peppers. Maybe a vegetable, maybe a grain, wheat, barley, spelt, oats, rye. Maybe a legume, what we call kitniyos. You may grow corn, or you may grow rice, or other beans. And everything has its own mechanism of how it works. But the miracle of it is you take a little seed, looks like nothing, you put it into the earth, and boom, sometime later, the miracle of vegetation happens. How does that happen? How does this little seed, suddenly this little seed produces years later this humongous apple tree? I have in my backyard an apple tree. It's a humongous apple tree, growing all these apples or any other fruits. It's incredible, incredible. That little seed, what does it have inside of it? So today, we're blessed with all the research and all the wisdom and the ability to be able to see deeper into the universe. We get to see in every generation more and more and more of the miracle in every aspect of the universe, every aspect of creation. It's like whatever you look at, it's so unbelievable, it's so mind-staggering, it's so unfathomable. Today we know in a seed, there's a lot of different parts, but there's three basic parts in every single seed. One is something called the embryo. It's like a baby plant. The whole plant that's going to come out later, it's all there in the seed. Tiny, 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 tiny. But that baby plant is there. It's called an embryo, like a little tiny baby. It's in the seed. There's another part of the seed. It's called the seed coat. It's like the coat. Like you wear a coat to protect yourself in cold weather, protect yourself from the rain. We have a very rainy day here. The seed has a coat to protect it. Because this seed is going to get taken to a lot of places. And the seed protects it, makes sure that it retains what it has to retain. There's a little baby inside. We don't want that baby, chas v'shalom, to get damaged because that baby is a future tree, or that baby is a future grain, or that baby is a future vegetable, or whatever it's going to grow, future flower. So the coat protects it. It protects it. It's only going to open up in the right time. It also doesn't want the seed to open up too early. And if it's not going to be the right place and the right time, it's just going to get damaged and ruined. So the coat protects it. And then you have a third part, it's called endosperm. That's basically the food that the baby eats. The baby plant needs food. Everything in the world needs food. So it nashes, it foods. It's like the grains of rice, like similar to the rice we eat. Tiny, that's what it feeds. Later, it's not going to need that food. It's going to get other food. And then you take this seed, doesn't look like it has anything, and you put it under the earth. And you're really burying it. And somebody will say, what are you doing? What are you burying it for? Keep it on your windowsill. Keep it on your counter. Keep it on your table. Keep it on your bookcase. Keep it on your desk. No. If I keep it on my bookcase, if I keep it on my desk, if I keep it on my windowsill, it's just going to remain a little seed, a lifeless seed. You put it in the earth and you cover it, and it looks like it's gone. It's not gone. You didn't bury it. You planted it. And you know what happens under the earth? The way Hashem made the world is that under the earth, suddenly the true potential and the true life force and the true energy inside the seed, which is completely concealed, could begin coming out. Of course, it's not enough to have earth. You need water. And you need sunlight. And you need warm temperature. You need oxygen. And then what happens? The seed coat slowly opens up. You remember I told you the seed has three parts. The coat, the embryo, the baby plant, and the food for the baby plant, the endosperm it's called. And it opens up slowly. And you know how a baby starts kicking like a real baby in the mommy's stomach, and the baby kicks, right? And then this baby also starts kicking, and the feet come out. Do you know what these feet are called? Roots. And the first thing that happens is roots come out from the seed, right? Like the feet. And the roots go into the earth. And the roots are going to be what's going to bring in water and nutrients, like food and water, into this plant so that it can live, that this baby can live. Those are the roots. And then this baby starts kicking upwards. And those are the little shoots that start coming out. You ever see when you plant something and a few weeks later, those little shoots, those little green shoots come out, come out. So you have first the roots go downwards. And by the way, any direction you'll put the seed always knows that the roots have to go down and the shoots have to go up. It never happens that the roots go up and the shoots go down because the seed knows exactly what to do. The Hashem embedded in every single seed, this unbelievable wisdom of knowing exactly what to do, how to do in order to ensure its survival and its growth. And then it starts growing. Each plant according to its own formula, its own mechanism, based on what's known as the DNA, the genetic code, the blueprint of what this plant needs in order to become who it's supposed to become. That is in that seed, in that embryo, in that baby. That baby has what's called living cells, which has in it the DNA, the manual, like an instruction, like a program, code, what it's supposed to do, and it follows that. And now it starts coming out. And as it starts developing leaves, you know what else happens? There's a stem, there's leaves. The leaves now take the sunlight and they convert the sunlight into food. They take, just like we have our food, the leaves get sunlight. It's called photosynthesis. They take the sunlight, they convert it into what's called glucose sugar. And now the plant doesn't need the food from inside the seed because it already gets food from the sun. And that's when the original seed falls away, the seed coat is gone, and you don't need the endosperm anymore. And this little embryo baby turns in maybe to a gigantic, gigantic tree. But there's a very, very powerful lesson for all of us here. You know, the way Hashem made the world is that everything in the world is connected to us, and we're connected to everything in the world. So what we see in the earth or anywhere in the planet is a reflection of our own life. Take this seed. When you look at the seed, you don't realize how much potential it has, but it's really filled with potential. It has potential to grow into an amazing, splendid, and beautiful tree. But it needs the right environment. So you take the seed and you just leave it on your table, it won't be able to come out. You'll never know what's inside of it. You take the seed and you put it in earth, and that's not enough. You need sunlight. You need water. The water makes the earth moist, the soil moist. You need the right temperature. You need a warm climate. If it's freezing cold, if we would only have winter, freezing cold, nothing would be able to grow. And then suddenly, the true soul, the true neshama, the true potential of this seed comes out. What is this in all of our lives? We are all called Zera Yisrael, the seed of Yisrael. Hashem tells Yaakov Avinu, V'hoya zaracha kafar ha'aretz. Mazaroi b'chayim. We say in the morning, Zera Avram. The Navi calls the Jewish people, Uzrati ali ba'aretz, I planted you in the earth. Each one of us is a seed. Each and every single one of you, every single one of us has a soul, a neshama, which is a piece of Hashem himself. And your entire existence, your body, your brain, your soul, it has so much power in it, so much potential in it, so much strength in it, so much beauty in it, so much holiness in it. But for it to really realize its potential, it needs the safety and the environment to bring out the best in it. So number one, we need sunlight and warmth. A person needs sunlight. We need light. We need warmth. In light and warmth, the seed coat can open up and your power can sprout and produce whatever you need to produce in this world. Maybe the most fragrant flowers, maybe the most delicious fruits or vegetables or grain, or whatever you need to produce in order to bring your beautiful light to the world. Light, warmth, water. The Gemara says about Bakama ein mayim ela Torah. Torah irrigates us. It irrigates, it hydrates. It's the water that the plant needs to be able to flourish, to blossom. And also earth. Earth represents humility. V'nafshi ka'afar lakol tiyah. if I'm arrogant, if I think I know everything, if I have to disagree with everybody, if I'm confrontational, my ego doesn't allow me to really grow. Going under the earth represents humility, anava. That's what allows us to truly, truly grow. And also in the earth, sometimes I'm invisible. Sometimes in life, a person could feel I'm invisible. Sometimes things happen that make us feel invisible. And the worst thing to think is that you're really buried forever and crushed. No, every moment in life is an opportunity for growth. And even if it's a difficult moment and I feel like, I was buried, chas v'shalom, but really I was planted. Sometimes it's hard. It's very, very hard. And I have to acknowledge how hard it is. I don't even see the seed anymore. But if you understand who you are and you always believe and appreciate your power and your strength and you don't allow anybody to take that away from you, even if I seem invisible, but my seed is always a chelik elakamemal, it's always a piece of Hashem. And when we have these combinations, we can grow and grow to be the people that we're capable of being and we're destined to be. And never think that your seed lost its power. There are seeds that are 1,000, 2,000 years old, and they were never planted. And when you look at them, they look dead. But if you give them the right ingredients, they blossom. In fact, in Israel, a few years ago, they planted seeds thousands of years old. And these seeds grew into palm trees, into dates. Can you imagine? That's the power of a seed. Sometimes you look at yourself, you say, I don't have energy, I don't have potential. Or you look at somebody else, just looks like a dead seed. It's not. It's in the wrong environment, with the right sunlight, with the right warmth. We need to be able to give ourselves warmth. And we need to be able to give ourselves light, lichtigkeit, and water, and the power of the earth, and the right climate. And then the seed grows enormously. And sometimes a seed shouldn't blame itself. The seed looks at itself and says, why am I not growing? Look at my friend. My friend grew into such a beautiful tree. That seed had what it needed. This seed maybe doesn't have what it needs. And therefore the seed shouldn't blame itself. The seed shouldn't say, I'm a loser. I'm a sick seed. I'm a horrible, horrible seed. I'm a disappointment to the world. No, maybe this seed needs some things that it never got. And when it gets what it needs, it's going to be able to flourish and blossom, and it needs to respect that which it really needs. I want to share something else amazing with you. Okay? And right after this, we're going to go to the questions. And the second thing the thing I want to share amazing with you is something else about trees. Since Shavuos is the holiday of harvest, Jacobson, and the holiday of when we started to bring Bikurim, something else amazing about trees. Do you know that what are the tallest trees in the world? The tallest trees in the world and the oldest trees in the world are called sequoias. They're also known as redwoods. Many of them are found in California, other parts of the world. Some of them they can live for 2,000 years. That's their lifespan. Some of them are 3,000 years old. I've read about sequoias or redwoods that may be 3,500 years old or even 4,000 years old. That means you have trees that have been around before Matan Torah, before the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. Trees that are around maybe from the days of Yosef HaTzadik or the days of Yaakov Avinu. Maybe trees that have been around from the days of Mesushalach, and the days of Noach, and the days of the Oves. It's incredible what these trees have seen. So when you look at a redwood or a sequoia, you have to have respect. These trees have been through, wow. Now, usually, trees have three major enemies, fires, bugs, and diseases. But these trees, it happens to be, they become stronger. They don't resist. They don't get damaged, not by fires, not by bugs, not by many diseases. And they also grow very tall. You have trees that can be 500 feet tall. Sometimes 550 feet tall. Huge trees. So they last for thousands of years, and they're unbelievably tall. Now I want to ask you a question, Kindalach. How deep do you think the roots have to be in order to be able to hold up such a tree 400 feet, 500 feet, 550 feet for 3,000 years. How deep do those roots have to? Imagine you have a huge tall building. How deep do foundations have to be in order to be able to make sure this tree can live for thousands of years? How long? How deep do these roots have to be? What would your natural instinct be? Take a guess. You could tell it to the person sitting near you. And yeah, you would think maybe 100 feet deep, right? To hold up a tree of 500 feet, probably it's 100 deep feet. It's like a deep foundation. You know what the answer is? The answer is a crazy answer. Usually these trees are between 5 and 6 feet deep, or maybe a little more. Really? 5, 6, 7, 8 feet deep? That's not a lot. And it holds up a tree that's hundreds of feet tall and thousands of years old? How? How does that happen? I mean, such a tree should be so weak, so vulnerable, so frail, so subjected to be destroyed so fast. You know what the answer is? I'm going to show you the answer in pictures. Bear with me, I prepared a few pictures here. You see the height of these trees? Take a look. Take a look in the Lach. If you're on the Zoom or on the YouTube, on the Yeshiva Dana, take a look at the height of these redwood trees. Okay? Now take a look at this. These are the roots. Do you see what's happening? Here's another picture. The roots. Here's another picture. Look at these roots. Here's another picture. Look at these roots. Here's the height and here are the roots. Look what's going on here. Do you understand what's happening? Let me point it out. What are you seeing here? These roots are not deep, but they're wide. What they lack in depth, they make up in width. And let me explain to you what happens. When the roots of a redwood or sequoia tree start reaching into the ground, into the earth, the roots spread. Every tree has roots because the roots are the channels, they're the pipes through which the water is going to come into the tree. The roots are going to get it from the earth, and also different nutrients like vitamins, like ingredients that it's going to need to live and survive and grow and thrive. So usually the roots of each tree are self-contained. But in the redwood trees, the roots look for other roots of other redwoods. And they start hugging each other. And they become interconnected and enmeshed and entangled and intertwined and interconnected with each other. Look at this. You see? The roots of different redwood trees now come together and they unite and they connect and they become one. Okay, take a look at this picture. Take a look what's going on here in these roots. These are different trees, but they're from the same family. So the roots under earth become connected. Mamish, mechubur, mekusher, meuchad. On top of the ground, it's separate trees. Under, they're one. And that's how they survive. That's how they can grow so tall. And that's how they can survive for thousands of years. Take a look at this phenomenon. And we didn't know about this till recently because we didn't have the equipment to be able to look under the earth. It's only recently that we discovered how powerful this is. So it doesn't have to be so deep, but it has to be connected with other roots. And then, you see, all the storms and all the disasters can destroy a tree that has its own roots. When you have 50 trees hugging each other, connected to each other, intertwined, the roots intertwined with each other, you won't defeat it. You won't defeat it because it's not one anymore. Kinderlach, do you get what's going on here, what we see here? Who are the sequoias of history? We have the sequoia trees, we have the redwood trees. Who are the sequoias in history in terms of people? We're compared to trees. And the answer is the Jewish people. We've been around thousands of years and not under easy circumstances. Forest fires try to destroy us. They still do. Bugs, infections, diseases, Rishoyim, Hamasniks, Hezbollahniks, Iran, Syria, from Paroi to Nebuchadnezzar to Haman, to Stalin, to Hitler, and today the Islamists that want to destroy the Jewish people, Rahman al-Islam, as we talk. 5 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, Iran sent 300 drones and cruise missiles and rockets with the intention of murdering, Rahman al-Islam, thousands of Jews. 5 weeks later, the president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, killed suddenly in a helicopter crash with his foreign minister and another few people. 99% of them were intercepted outside of Israel. But you're talking about and Jews, and people wonder, how will these redwood trees survive? How will these sequoias survive? And here we see one of the big answers. The power of Avas Yisrael and Achdus Yisrael. On top of the earth, every tree is different. Every person is different. Every soul is different. Everybody is supposed to be different. Like every seed is unique. But under the earth, if you go deeper, all the trees are interconnected. All the roots, on a root level, all the neshamas of Klal Yisrael are one. It's one neshama. The neshama goes into different bodies, but we are one soul. Because the soul is an emanation. It's a derivative of the consciousness of Hashem. Hashem Echad. Hashem is one. Hashem is infinite. Hashem is all of reality. And each of our souls is a manifestation of that oneness. So if you go to the roots of a Jew, if you go deep, deep, deep into the roots, you know what you're going to find? You and me and you and you and you and you. We're one. We're indivisible. We're one. Our roots are interconnected, even though we each have a different mission and a different shape and a different design and a different personality and a different part of the world. And each tree has its own unique function and purpose and its unique idiosyncrasies and shtick. But deep down, go under, not so deep, 5 feet deep. Boom, we're all connected. We're all one. You get it? That's the power. That's why it says on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the first day of Sivan, when the Jews came to Midbar Sinai, what does the pasuk say in Yisro? We're going to read it on Shavuos. Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged dahar. So Rashi says, Vayichan lashon yachid ki ish echad b'lev echad. One person with one heart. And then they can receive the Torah. Because it's the power of being like one person with one heart, even though we're different people. But it's like one person with one heart, true love and unity. That's what allowed us not only to get the Torah, but to keep the Torah and to have it thousands of years later and to be as strong and as powerful as ever. And that's what happens. That's the power of love. That's the power of dedication. That's the power when you can do a favor to somebody with a full heart. That's the power when we remain united, completely indestructible. We don't allow small, petty things to get in between us. We remember who we really, really are. We are truly, truly one. Each one of you is connected to millions of Jews, and not just of this generation, of all the generations. You have all their power, all their mysterious nefesh, all their amunah, all their creativity, all their love, in addition to you being who you are as a unique, special individual who nobody can replace, just like every tree has its own unique personality. Okay. We're going to go to questions. We're going to go to questions right now. And everybody is free to ask live questions. And then we're going to end with another very special story and a very special message. Okay. So, those of you, we already got a lot of questions. Those of you who want to text or WhatsApp your questions, 718-977-5279. 718-977-5279. We're going to open the document where we have all the questions. If you want to ask a question live, Leora, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Leora.
Why does Hashem thank you. My question is, why does Hashem
First of all, Leora, how old are you?
9?
You're 9. And where do you live? Where are you now?
Muncie.
Muncie. Okay, that's where I'm from. Okay, Leora, what's your question, please?
My question is, why does Hashem love children's davening more than grown-ups davening?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Why does Hashem love children's davening more than grown-up davening? I think he loves everybody's davening, but I think there's something very special about children's davening, and that is that children do things with a full heart. Children are by nature, every soul is very pure, and when we're children, that purity comes out in a much clearer fashion. Children are so innocent and pure. The Gemara says that the world stands on the words and on the Torah and on the mitzvahs and on the davening of Tinokel Shabes Rabban, of children. Because sometimes when we get older, if we don't remain children, we can get a little trapped by all of the pressures of the world, because the world has a lot of lies and the world has a lot of messages that can contaminate us. But children, by nature, the way Hashem made them, have a purity. Their hearts are more open. They say what they're thinking. They say what they're feeling. They know how to laugh. They know how to dance. They know how to giggle. They know how to be children. So their prayers have a sincerity, a seriousness to them, and a purity to them, and a power to them that is very unique. In fact, one of the Rishonim, Rabbeinu Shimshon, one of the great sages, so there's a sefer called Shal Tshuvas HaRivosh, and he brings that he used to say by davening, Ani mispala l'da ze hatinek. I want to daven to Hashem like I'm a child. I'm davening like I'm a child, even though he was one of the greatest rabbis of his time. And he said, I want to put everything away and just daven like a child, meaning just from heart to heart, face to face, soul to soul. You understand, Leora? You still here? Oh, you're muted. Okay.
Wait, okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
The other one I wrote in chat.
Oh, I see your other question. Wow, your other question is also a great question. So here's the other question. This is a 9-year-old girl. Leora, thank you. We talk about Hashem a lot, which is normal. But every time we talk about Hashem, my brain questions lots and lots of things. My brain starts asking all these questions. How is Hashem made? Does Hashem have a mother? Does Hashem have a father? Did his mother give birth to him? If so, who made Hashem's mother? I don't get it. Did Hashem just come out of a portal? Did he just emerge? This makes no sense. This is questioning my mind every single day. Whenever we talk about Hashem, it's so weird for me because my mind goes into all these difficult questions that I don't have an answer for. Wow. That's amazing. First of all, thank you for trusting and asking this question. And it's really very special that you're asking. And you're asking a very, very deep question. But I want to still get to many questions. So I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to try to give a brief answer. Okay? You're asking a good question. We just learned about a seed, right? Every tree comes from somewhere. The tree doesn't come from nowhere. The tree comes from a seed. And the seed came from somewhere. The seed came from the fruit. And the fruit came from a previous seed, right? And that seed had to come from another fruit, all the way back to the beginning. But who made the first seed that made the first tree? The chicken came from an egg, right? But who made the first egg? Oh, the egg came from a chicken. The chicken laid an egg, and then the chicken lays on the egg, and then the egg hatches. But who made that first chicken? Oh, an egg. But who made the first egg? The chicken or the egg, the chicken or the egg, the chicken or the egg. Same is true with the horse. The baby horse came from mommy, but who made the first horse? And the calf of an elephant came from the mother elephant, which came from a previous mother, And the same is true with every single one of us. And anything you look at the world, anything you look at, it has a source. It came from somewhere, right? And where's the beginning? So you say, well, Hashem created it all. So now you're asking, Leora, and which egg did Hashem come from? And who was Hashem's mommy? Great, great question. And the answer, my dear Leora, is as follows. Everything in our world is physical, like an egg, like a chicken, like a seed, like an apple, like a cherry, like a plum, like a peach, like a cantaloupe. And it came from something before. It came from a seed, which came from a previous tree, which came from a seed, which came from a previous tree. The same is true with every person. You came from your mommy, who came from her mommy, who came from her mommy and tati, all the way back to Adam and Chava. Hashem is not something that is made from anything physical. Hashem is not made up of matter. He's not made up of something physical. Hashem also doesn't exist in time or space. Hashem created time. Hashem created space. Hashem created physical reality. So Hashem doesn't need a creator because Hashem is not that type of reality that you could create or that needs to be created. Hashem is the essence of all reality, beyond time, beyond space, beyond matter. Take a look at the first pasuk of Chumash. The first pasuk of Chumash is, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. In the beginning, Hashem created heaven and earth. So look what we just learned. In the beginning, Bereshis bara Elokim. It means, the Vilna Gaon says this, the Balatanya says this, Bereshis bara Elokim, Hashem created beginning. Hashem created time. Time is a creation. And by the way, in modern science today, the great scientists explain what they call the Big Bang, that before the Big Bang, there was no time, there was no before. Time is a creation. Space is a creation. Es hashamayim. Hashem created heaven. What does heaven mean? Space. You know what else? Ve'es haaretz. He created earth, matter. Time, space, and matter were all created together because none of them can exist without the other. You have matter. Where is it going to be? It has to be somewhere. And when is it going to be? It has to have a time. So space, time, and matter work together. When you have something that's matter, it exists in time, it exists in space. Hashem created matter. He created time. He created space. He's completely beyond it. So he doesn't need a mommy to create him. He created all the mommies because Hashem is the essence behind all of reality. All of reality began in Hashem. And all of reality, everything that exists, comes from Hashem. It's an extension of Hashem. And that's why Hashem exists in every single reality, because every reality is a revelation of Hashem, including you. Beautiful, beautiful question. Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Leore understood a little bit?
Thank you for answering the question.
Pleasure, pleasure. Okay, let's go to other questions. 718-977-5279, 718-977-5279. You can text or WhatsApp your question if you want to speak up live on Zoom. Bevakasha, you can come on Zoom and raise your hand and we will let you come in. Let me go to the next questions here. Okay, next. Shmuel. Shmuel is age 10. What should I do when I want something and my parents say it's not in the budget? They don't have the money for it, but I really, really want it. What should I do? Wow. What should you do? That's a very good question, Shmuel. I think maybe you can talk to your parents about that and ask them. Say, you know, Tati, Mommy, I really, really want this. How can I make it happen? How can we make it happen? How can I help make it happen? And maybe all three of you together can come up with a good idea. Let's figure it out, you know? Sometimes there's an idea. Sometimes there's different ways of getting something. Maybe your parents need a little time. Or maybe there's another way. So if you could, sit down with your father or mother or both of them and say, you know, this really means a lot to me. What can we do? And let's brainstorm. You're an intelligent boy, I see. I'm sure your father and mother have their way of looking at it. You know, maybe you can also suggest to them. Maybe they can ask somebody for advice. So that's what I would do. I would have a conversation with them. Yehudis, 12 years old. I am bored all the time. What should I do? Gewaltige question. Wow. Thank you for your questions, children. You know, I answer a lot of questions from people, but there's nothing like your questions. Gewaldig. You see why Hashem likes the prayers of children? Okay. So, wow, that's a good question. You're bored all the time. So what I would suggest to you, Yehudis, is there anything that you ever found interesting or nothing ever? Is there anything you ever did, you ever read, you ever involved in that you did find interesting? Because if yes, let's focus on that. Let's start with that. Is there literally nothing that you find interesting ever? If there's nothing you ever find interesting, nothing to read, no people, not even yourself, I would really speak about that with somebody you trust. Maybe your father or mother or an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent or a teacher or a principal or a sibling. If you really, really find that there's nothing in the world that interests you, that means that there's something inside of you that's very, very sad. So you want to speak about that with somebody you trust. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe there's just a lot of the things that a lot of people are interested in just don't interest you, which is fine. But then find something that you are interested in, that you are passionate about. And you know what? Get involved in that. You know, I meet people a lot of times, and I know there's things that I'm interested in that a lot of people are not interested in. There's things that excite me, they don't excite other people. Certain things that excite me, other things excite other people, and they may not excite me. And you know what? That's fine. Every person is different. We spoke before about a seed, right? Every seed has its own unique destiny. An apple tree doesn't have to feel insecure. Oh, I'm not growing watermelons. I'm not growing cherries. I'm not growing blueberries or raspberries, and everybody likes cherries. No, you have your thing. Oh, I'm growing figs. I'm growing buxer, carrots. Yeah, that's your thing. Reb Shimon ben Yochai lived from you for 13 years. Don't be insecure. So each of us have our own passions, our own heart. So find maybe projects or books or ideas or insights or friends or relationships or hobbies that arouse you, that inspire you. There's so much in our world. You know, some people love Chumash. Some people love Tanakh, Nevi'im, and some people love Medrash. Some people love stories. Some people love history. Some people love science. Some people love physics. Some people love math. Some people love just spending time with other people. Some people love cooking. Some people love drumming. Some people love music. Some people love nature. Some people love exercise, hiking. Find your thing and make that your hobby. Make that your passion. And don't be afraid to listen to your own music. I'm going to tell you a beautiful story. I read this somewhere. There was a person. He told a story. It was a few years ago. He was 32 years old, and he said when he was in 6th grade in school, he would look out the window a lot, and his teacher didn't like it because it looked like he was dreaming. You know, he was looking out the window. He wasn't looking into the book. This is not a Jew. He was in a public school. And one day his teacher turned to him and said very nicely, you know, I don't know how you're going to support your family because nobody's going to pay you for looking out the window. You should look away from the window, look into the book, study what I'm teaching so you could learn it, and then you'll be able to be educated, and hopefully you'll be able to make a good living because nobody's going to pay you for looking out the window. And the man smiled, and he says, you know what I do today? I'm a pilot. They pay me for looking out the window. It's so interesting because that was his thing. He loved the outdoors and he loved looking out the window. And that's what he does today, all day and sometimes all night. So find that and appreciate it and respect it and enjoy it. Next question. Question by Anonymous. Okay. How did all of this start? You give classes to so many people, and I see that you have thousands and thousands of views. Can you tell us about your background and how you began all of this? Gewaldig. I love these questions. Okay, so now I'm supposed to talk about myself, right? Okay, meantime, you could send in more questions, right? Okay, 718-977-5279. Okay, in terms of your question, your beautiful, beautiful question, which I appreciate very much, I'll be very brief. Basically, I'm 51 years old. I'm still a child at heart. I try to be a child, but a part of me can't always be a child because I'm a father of children and I'm a husband, and I'm after bar mitzvah with all the benefits, with all the pluses, and with all the minuses. But I had a privilege. I grew up at the feet of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn. And the Rebbe would speak very often on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. Later years, almost every Shabbos. When I was younger, it wasn't every Shabbos, but it was pretty often. And I had the privilege of listening to the Rebbe's talks and Farbrengens, where he would speak about all aspects of Torah and the Jewish people and the Jewish world and Eretz Yisrael, and bring Torah down to everybody's level and make you feel how relevant it was to your life. Torah was real, mitzvahs are real, and the power of Torah and mitzvahs, and the beauty of it, and the glory of it, and the love of it. And I grew up in that environment for many, many years. And I had the schus, I had the privilege as a bocher. I was one of the people, the Rebbe would speak on Shabbos and Yom Tov. There were no tape recorders because it was Shabbos. So there was a group of people who had to remember what the Rebbe said for many hours. He would speak for many hours, and then we would write it down during the week. And I had the schus of being part of that group. Later, as I grew up in life, people asked me to come give classes and teach. And some people asked me to come to their shul or their community or their school over the years. And then they asked me if I could even travel to other states and other countries. And I guess some people enjoyed it because I got more and more invitations. So that's how this all began. And I began teaching. And then later, when the internet became a thing, because when I grew up, there was no internet, right? We didn't have cell phones. There was no internet. It was still, in my house, we still had typewriters. We didn't have computers. I don't know if any of you saw a typewriter, but my father had a newspaper. He would type. There were typewriters. But later, when the internet came out, so I decided to put a lot of the classes on the internet. That's when I made the yeshiva.net and other websites that took these classes. And then Corona came. And Corona, if you remember, those of you who remember, March 2020, right after Purim 2020, Tavshin Pei, not many years ago, just 4 years ago, literally 4 years ago in a few months, everything closed down overnight, literally overnight. I remember, we had Purim and we made a big event on Purim. I remember the next night I went to somebody's wedding, and the next night my daughter had a bar mitzvah, and the next day it was like nobody's going anywhere. The schools closed down and shuls, and you weren't going anywhere. And I would give a lot of classes, I think almost every day, every day. So I right away reached out to my guys and I said, we got to do everything online. And in one day, we shifted everything online. I started to give all these classes online. And then I realized that so many children are home. I said, let's make a children's program. And Baruch Hashem, it got thousands of views. And then we did a program for teenagers and for adults. And, it's been a few years later, and I have the privilege of trying to be a channel for Hashem to spread His Torah and to spread Avos Hashem and Avos HaTorah and Avos Yisrael in the whole world, and help bring the Geula closer. So that's the story in brief. Question. I never want to eat fleishiks because then I can't eat milchiks. And if I eat fleishiks, I want to eat milchiks and I have to wait. And I get very upset before and during Shabbos lunch if we don't start eating early because I'm scared I won't be able to eat milchiks if I eat fleishiks. What should I do? Great, great question. In fact, you're not alone. A lot of people, they really want to eat milchiks and therefore they don't want to eat fleishiks. So I would say as follows. Pace yourself and ask yourself, what time do you want to eat milchiks? I assume that in your house they wait 6 hours, as they do in most homes. There is a minig by some that they wait less, but probably you wait 6 hours. That's what we do also. That's what most communities do, but there is some communities that do it a little differently. So ask yourself, okay, what time do I want to eat milchiks? And make sure that you don't eat fleishiks at a designated time that will not allow you to eat milchiks. And what happens if Shabbos lunch is served a little later? So maybe don't eat fleishiks. Don't eat fleishik. Eat the other parts of lunch that are not fleishik. And if you're really hungry for fleishiks, maybe if you see that lunch is going to be late, you can talk to your mother or talk to your father or talk to whoever is in charge and say, you know what, can I eat a little piece of fleishiks before the meal begins? That way, your fleishiks, you will be done with fleishiks and still have enough time to eat milchiks. Great question. Thank you. And enjoy your fleishiks and enjoy your milchiks. And I want to tell you, it's very special when you think about it, that when a Jew eats fleishiks, we wait such a long time till we eat milchiks. We wait 6 hours. That discipline and that uniqueness, and I'm even going to share a little insight. The insight comes from the Baal Tanya. Maybe it's a little deep, but I'm going to share it anyway. What's the difference between milk and meat? Milk, every food has an energy. Milk is chesed. Milk is white. Milk is the liquid of love. That's how a mother gives life to all of her children. Also in the animals, all mammals, how do they feed their babies? How do they feed their calves? With milk. That's why Avram Avinu, what was the first meal he gave to the guest? The first recorded meal in the Torah where you give to guests, it was milk. And milk is the only food, the more you give, the more you get. You know that? If a mother stops nursing, she doesn't get the milk. The more you give, the more you get. All the other food, you give it away, you don't have it. So milk represents chesed, love. The more you give, the more you get. And it's all about giving and nurture. Meat, basar, represents gvura, strength. You can only eat meat after the animal died. Milk is the liquid of life. It's how the mother gives life to her babies. Meat, we eat after the animal was slaughtered. So it has a whole different energy. Right? You're not allowed to eat Aver min achai. You're not allowed to eat a limb from an animal that's alive. Even a non-Jew is not allowed. It's one of the Shem mitzvahs b'nei. Also, meat is hard and meat is red. So meat represents the energy of gvura. We have chesed, we have gvura. And the fact is that in our life, we need both. We need to be able to have love. We also need to be able to have boundaries. We need to be able to have strength. We need to be able to know and say, no, you can't have this. No, you can't touch this. You need to be able to respect your own body, your own boundaries. Just like if I'm eating soup and somebody starts taking from my soup, no, it's not okay. This is my soup. Don't come into my soup. Don't come into my soup. Right? We have to respect our boundaries, our body. That's called gvura. So we have both things in life. We have chesed and we have gvura. And we have to be able to respect both. Our main function, though, is chesed. I always want to connect. I want to give. But in order to do that, you have to be able to protect yourself with gvura. Now, whatever comes in first in the system, that's the foundation. So that's why if we put meat first in, so on the bottom we have gvura, so we have to wait till it dissipates, and then we bring in the chesed. Because if not, the chesed is going to become subservient to the gvura. But the other way, we don't mind. That's why after milk, you don't have to wait for so long. Because if chesed is on the bottom and the gvura is subservient to the chesed, you're good. Okay, next question. Hi, it's Layla. I am 10 years old. I hate mosquitoes. I get them all the time. Why did Hashem create mosquitoes? They really bother me. David HaMelech asked a question like this about spiders, and he got a reasonable answer. But mosquitoes just suck my blood, and they make me miserable. David HaMelech asked about spiders, and then he realized that spiders covered over the cave with their web, and Shaul couldn't find them because he didn't think anybody went into that cave. Can Hashem show me why he created mosquitoes and how mosquitoes help us? Wow. You know, that's a great, great question. You want to know what is the benefit of mosquitoes in our world? Who needs them? They seem so annoying. You know what? I have the same question. I also don't like mosquito bites. And I'm going to research it. I am going to research it. You just gave me my homework because I don't know enough about mosquitoes. I don't know enough to give you an answer. So Layla, I'm going to research it. Bli neder, be'ezer Hashem. And our next program, which is going to be 1 month from now, I'm going to address this question. Okay? So come back and we're going to address it. Last week, I wasn't feeling well. I came home from the hospital. Oh, I'm sorry. And I have a wound in my arm. I'm stuck at home for the next few weeks after Shavuos. My question is this. I was in the hospital. Now I'm home. I'm stuck at home. I am very bored. I'm not feeling well. What am I supposed to do? This is not good. The hospital was not good, and now I'm home. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. It's hard. It's hard, and speak to the people who take care of you and you trust and love, how you could make your time at home more meaningful and more significant. Maybe there's certain projects you didn't have time for you could do. Maybe you could do gardening. Maybe you can do some errands in the house. Maybe you could learn how to cook. Maybe there's books you want to read that you couldn't read. Maybe you can catch up on some skills that you couldn't catch up. There's also different programs they have on computer, on the internet, where you could learn different things and catch up with your class. Maybe you could also join your class with a telephone or with a Zoom, maybe with a video. Maybe you could do that. So talk to the people that you trust of how you could make your time more meaningful. Maybe there's different things you could do with your body. Maybe you could learn new skills. There's so many different options. So let them and you look into it and figure out what you'll do with your time. And I'm sorry. It is hard. It is hard. And you have to have empathy and compassion because it's aggravating. You wanted to be in school. You want to play with your friends. And this is difficult. Yeah. Hi. This is a question from Yosef. I love Hashem. I love you. I love my Rabbi. How can I love my parents more? Wow. What takes some of us adults, years to articulate, these kids articulate very fast. How can I love my parents more? So the answer, Yosef, is I don't know about the struggle you're having with your parents. There's something that's upsetting you about your parents. The first thing is, do you feel that you could speak to your parents about this? Do you trust your parents? Do you feel safe with your parents? Do you feel secure with your parents? Is this something you can talk about with your father or mother? And if not, is this something you can talk about maybe with an older brother or sister who you trust? Is it something you can talk about with somebody else in the family, or maybe with your principal, or with your Rebbe, or with your Mora, or with your teacher? Not with your Mora, with your Rebbe, or with your principal. You probably don't have a Mora. That's why I see your name is Yosef. Is there something you can talk about with them? Because I don't know, I want to say love your parents, but there may be something difficult, there may be something challenging, maybe something they have to know, maybe something you need to talk to them about, or somebody else needs to talk to them about. Maybe there's something bothering you that they don't know about. Maybe there's something that they can do more, or maybe there's a problem here that has to be addressed. So unless you share with me more, I don't know exactly what to tell you, but I want to tell you that it's important for you to respect what you're feeling, and speak to people you trust about what is going on. Sometimes it's not so serious. Sometimes it's a simple thing. Maybe there's a misunderstanding between you and your mother, between you and your father, and it can be fixed easily. Sometimes not. So I want you to speak to somebody you trust in your family, maybe your parents, but if not, it's fine. You could speak to other people and share with them what exactly you feel is bothering you so much about your parents. If it's just that your parents, sometimes discipline you and they say no and they put you to bed and they want you to take a bath or a shower, well, they're probably, they mean well. So you could talk to them and connect to them more. If it's something that you're missing from them, maybe you can talk to them or again to somebody else. Yes. Okay. Next question. You could ask your question. 718-977-52718, 5279, 718-977-5279, 718-977-5279. Let's go to the next question. Okay. The chat on Zoom has a lot of questions. If you want to ask your question live, feel free to raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you can also ask your question live, but you have to raise your hand on the phone by pressing *9. If you're on Zoom, you could just raise your hand here. But let's go to the next question, which is on chat. Okay, let me open it up here. Question. If Hashem knows what we're going to do at the end, then we don't have free will. What's the answer to this? It's one of the two. If Hashem knows everything, so he knows what I'm going to do tomorrow, so then I can't choose. Because if I choose against what he knows, then he doesn't know. So if Hashem doesn't really know, how can he not know? And if Hashem does know, then I don't have any freedom to choose. So what is the answer to this question? Wow. This is a good question. It's a very deep question. This question has been asked for thousands of years. So let me try to answer this. I want to say, first of all, I'm very proud of you for asking this question because it's really, really a good question. And I think that when you ask questions, you should know that it's very meaningful to me. I'm happy to be able to address such a meaningful and good question. It's a very deep question. And I'm going to give you one perspective, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I'm watching a video of a game that happened. No, I'm going to say it differently. Let's say I'm talking to somebody about a game. I don't know, a basketball game of two teams that I really like, maybe two teams in my school or in my family, whatever it is. And I tell somebody, okay, and I tell somebody, you should know that Chaim or Yankee or Mati or David, this is the move. This is the move that he's going to do. You see, what's happening is we're watching a video of this basketball game. And I tell my friend, this is what he's going to do now. This is how he's going to throw the ball. And I want to ask you a question. Did I just take away his free choice of where to throw the ball? No. You know why? I'm watching a video of what happened. I already watched it. So I'm telling you what happened already. He did it. My friend didn't watch the video yet. I watched the game already. So I knew yesterday what happened. And now I'm telling my friend this is what's going to happen. He doesn't know. But you know how I know? Because he did it already. When you're telling a story about something that happened, you're not taking away the person's free choice because the person did it already. So now let me explain to you something. Hashem is beyond time. Past, present, and future are all one by Hashem. In fact, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is a combination of three words. Haya, Hoive, Yiyeh. He was, he is, and he will be. All in one word. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey is Haya, Hoive, Yiyeh. He was, he is, and he will be. Because Hashem created time. So he's beyond time. Imagine time is like a river. It goes, and there's different parts of the river, but you're above the river, right? So you see the whole thing as one. You see literally the whole thing as one. Today in science, Einstein taught that time is even relative. With the speed of light, time can change. There could be 50 years that pass in one place, and another place, only one day passed. So even time that we know is relative. Hashem created time, so he's beyond time. So past, present, and future are one. So Hashem sees what you're going to choose before you chose it. Why? Because he's beyond time. So it's like the future is already, even though it didn't happen yet. For you, it didn't happen. But for him, he's beyond time. So it's like he sees the whole river. Let's say you're swimming in the river, right? You're not at the end of the river. You're going to be at the end of the river tomorrow or in an hour. But Hashem is beyond it all. So he sees the end of the river right now. And he even sees you at the end of the river now because he's beyond time. So therefore, when Hashem knows the future, it doesn't take away your free choice. Because in your time and space, you have free choice. Am I going to throw the ball this way? Am I going to throw the ball this way? Am I going to say this? Am I going to say this? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I have choice. But Hashem is beyond time and beyond space and beyond matter. So he sees it before it happened as though it happened already. So just like if I see what you did yesterday and I know what you did, it doesn't take away your choice. You know why? Because I saw it after it happened. When Hashem sees it before it happened, it's like it happened already. And that way he could know everything, but there's still free choice. Next question. How can I have more chayas in davening? How can I make my davening more exciting? It's a beautiful, beautiful question. And the answer I would say is, one thing you can do is try to focus on one part of davening and maybe say it in English. Like maybe say it in English or in Yiddish or in your own words. Like take one piece of davening and take a siddur with a language that you understand and say it in that language, just one piece, with your heart, sincerely. And every day, maybe do another piece. And you know what happens? After a while, you're going to see that you understand so many pieces much better. And then different days, focus on one piece for a little longer. That's what I would do. Another option is that in the middle of davening at some point, you should talk to Hashem in your own words. Like, besides the holy words of the Siddur, you could talk to Hashem for a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes in your own words, like you were talking to your best friend. Like tell him what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what's bothering you. And that too opens up our heart that we can have a much more powerful relationship. So, Kinderlach, it's time to wrap up. Wow, it's late. It's time to wrap up. And I'm going to wrap up with a very, very special story. It's a story that just happened. So it's not even like a story. It's like in the news. And I think it's just important to mention it because it tells us who we are and who our people are. I spoke before about the Sequoia trees, the redwoods, how the roots are connected. And even if on the top of the ground, every tree is different, but if you go deeper, everyone is one. This Shabbos morning, dozens and then hundreds of Jews sacrificed their life to save 4 of our brothers and sisters. Shabbos morning, 4 Jewish hostages who were kidnapped on Simchas Torah this year. Simchas Torah this year, October 7th, 2023. Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah Tovshin Pei Dalet. So that's Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar, Aleph, Adar, Beis. Wow. You're talking about more than 8 months. They were kidnapped and they were kept in houses and tunnels by the Hamas monsters, Yamach Shemam v'Zichram in Gaza. 4 of them were liberated and were brought back home to Eretz Yisrael and to their families in safety. Noah Argamani, 25 years old. 25 years old. Noah was freed. Almog Meir, 21 years old. Andrei Kozolov, 27 years old. Shlomi Ziv, 40 years old. They were all at a music festival and they were kidnapped by Hamas. And this Shabbos morning, just yesterday, they were freed. And this came at the price of hundreds of Jews, soldiers, who were involved in this unbelievable operation to liberate them. You can imagine the war that went on, the gunfire. Because the Hamas Rishayim kidnapped Jews and then they put them among regular civilians. So now when you want to liberate them, you're dealing with a struggle because when they're shooting back at the Israelis who try to liberate them, it's among their civilians. That's the chutzpah of people in the world who say, oh, many Arabs were killed over there. Yeah, you put the hostages among your people, among your civilians. Of course, we're going to liberate them and you're going to fight back. They're going to be killed. Who's to blame? There was tremendous amount of gunfire and they killed the murderers. They killed the Hamas security people. They killed those who were trying to kill the Jews, trying to liberate the hostages, and they tried to kill the hostages. Baruch Hashem, they were liberated, but the one who directed the operation, it was 2 separate homes. One home was the girl and the other home were the other 3. And the one who directed the operations in that second home with the 3 hostages, Arnon Zmora, he was the leader liberating these hostages. He was killed. He was shot on, he was wounded, and he passed away in the hospital. Arnon Zmora is a father of 2 children, a married man, a husband, 36 years old. 36 years old. And he was killed al Kiddush Hashem, saving these Jews. There was a tremendous simcha to see them come back, reunited with their families, but also tremendous, tremendous pain because of Arnon Zmora's death in the hands of the Hamasniks. And it just brings out to us, how much we don't understand, but how much we need each other, how much we're connected to each other, how much we're dependent on each other, and how much we're here for each other. And this is the power of Achdus that we spoke about before. And I want to tell you, Kinderlach, Shavuos is coming up. We're going to reunite again this Shavuos and recreate our covenant with Hashem once again. 3,300 years have passed since Matan Torah. And the trees are as strong as ever, united stronger than ever, committed stronger than ever. And that's why this year, I always heard from the Rabbi, he always asked that on Shavuos, every Jew and every child should try to come and hear the Aseres Adibris, the 10 Commandments, when they're read in the Torah the first day of Shavuos by the reading of the Torah. Because it says in Medrash that Hashem said, if even one Jew is not present at Har Sinai, I can't give the Torah. I need everybody there, including every infant and every child. And Hashem said the children more than anybody else because they're the guarantors. And it says in Medrash that Hashem said every year by Shavuos, by Matan Torah, when you read the Aseres Adibris, it's like you're receiving the Torah again. And therefore I want to suggest and urge each and every one of you and all the parents to bring every one of your children to hear the Aseres Adibris on Shavuos, even little babies, even infants. Even if you think they don't understand, they understand more than you think, and it goes into their soul. Because this is the connection and the relationship that holds us together and holds us intact and gives us our energy and our eternity. Learning Torah, observing mitzvahs, every one of those psukim that we learn or anything we learn in Torah, any mitzvah we do, is an eternal connection with Hashem forever. And the time that we received it all is this Shavuos. This year it's Wednesday, to come to Aseres Adibris, and together, united more than ever, we will once again receive the Torah and appreciate it and cherish it and celebrate it by celebrating ourselves and our own souls and our own gift and our own life, by celebrating our family and our friends, by celebrating the gift of life every single moment. And may our achdus and our unity and our learning and our mitzvahs and our davening and our emunah and our avos Yisrael, and once again coming together to receive the Torah, ultimately bring down the greatest blessings for all the Jewish people. And the greatest blessing is that all of us should be reunited in Eretz Yisrael with the third Beis HaMikdash, with Mashiach Tzidkenu, and to be able to celebrate the Bikurim, with the real Bikurim, with the Kayanim in the Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, B'mheira b'yameinu. Amen. Let's see if there's more questions, and then I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. Two, how do we respond to those that are against the Jewish people and are anti-Semites? What are we supposed to do? Well, one thing we have to do is we have to remember why they hate us. They hate us because of our holiness. They hate us because of our goodness. So it only tells you that we need to be more Jewish and more empowered and more inspired and bring in more good to the world, because all the good we bring into the world defeats the darkness. That's number one. And number two, Jews have to do whatever they can to influence the world. You know, Avraham Avinu was chosen in order to be a blessing for all of humanity. And every Jew needs to do his or her part in influencing the world and teaching truth, justice, morality, kindness, authenticity, and teach people how to differentiate good from evil. We need to teach the non-Jewish world the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. We need to teach and stand up for what's truth and educate the world. There's a lot of good people. They're waiting to be educated. We need to educate them. And as children, I think our greatest job is to be more Jewish, to be more focused, to realize how powerful we are. If this is the type of hate that we engender, realize how powerful the Jewish people are. We're only a tiny little people. We're not even 0.25% of humanity. And yet we trigger so much emotion. Look at the power of the Jewish people. So it tells you how powerful you are. And that's why the anti-Semites don't distinguish between children and adults and older people and younger people. They don't care. Every Jewish child is as important as the greatest, holiest Jew, like by Mordechai. Haman wanted to kill every child because every child was a little Mordechai. It shows you the power of a Jew, the holiness of a Jew. That's why they hate us. So that means believe in your Kedusha and bring in more Kedusha. And every pasuk that you learn in Torah and every mitzvah that you do and every act of avos Yisrael that you do, and you help another person, and every mitzvah that you do, and every tefillah, it all has tremendous power and energy. It changes the world in a very real way. Question: when someone isn't nice to me, how should I react? Sometimes there's people who are not being nice to me. How am I supposed to react? It's a very, very good question. Wow. The first thing is, it's important to protect yourself. If you're being hurt, it's important to create boundaries and protect yourself so they shouldn't be able to hurt you, okay? Number one. Number two, if it's somebody you could speak to about it, you should tell it to them. If you can influence them and they're going to listen to you, you should tell them, I don't appreciate what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. You're being not nice. If it's not somebody you could speak to, is there somebody else you can speak to make sure that this doesn't continue? Sometimes there's nothing you can do. They're just not being nice and it's their thing. And you know what? You could feel bad for them and say, listen, you know what? I'm going to learn how not to be, maybe. Sometimes You learn from people how not to be. They're not nice, but I'm going to be nice. But it's very important first to protect yourself, to create the proper boundaries. If there's somebody you can talk to them. If you can talk to them, talk to them. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. And you know what? Yeah, sometimes people are not being nice and it's really their problem. But you know who you are and you know what a beautiful person you are. So don't let them not being nice take away from you your power and your love. I hope that answers at least a little bit of your question, because I know that this is a very important question that you asked. Okay, Kinderlach. My dearest Kinderlach, I send you all the love in the world. I wish you a beautiful Yom Tov, a beautiful month. May you have and enjoy Kabbalah Torah b'simcha b'pnimius, to receive the Torah with joy and in an internal, sincere way, and be blessed with all the hatzlacha in the world. And may our eyes see the geula, ha'amitis v'ashlema, the ultimate and true redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu. I want to again thank the family of Saul Teichman from Los Angeles for sponsoring and dedicating this program in loving memory of Reb Saul Teichman. We so appreciate it on behalf of all of the children. Dedicated this program Le'elu Nishmas Reb Chaim Shloime Zalman ben Reb Shmuel Teichman from LA. Thank you very, very much. Thank you all the Kinderlach who have gathered here and have graced us with your beautiful, beautiful presence. Be'ezer Hashem, we will continue this program once a month. We're going to try the first Sunday of every month, Bli Neder, with God's help. Please share it with your friends. If you want to watch a replay, it's going to be on theyeshiva.net, THEYESHIVA.net. Have a beautiful evening, a beautiful month, and a freilichen and happy Yom Tov.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.